So it's been a while since I've updated. This is actually, we're getting cold weather again. It's about 45 degrees outside today. I don't know what that translates into Celsius, that's Fahrenheit, but it's jacket weather, I guess. But it is warming up. The sun is out. We had a big windstorm yesterday, actually blew some power lines down. It was quite a, well, it was the kind of storm that blows a lot of the leaves off the trees when they've turned this color. It was beautiful here before that snowstorm, before that windstorm. So anyway, we're looking at what we've been doing here. I have just been wiring. That's basically it. Doing a little bit of framing in places, but mainly wiring. So right now I'm just getting the boxes made up. I didn't realize I had to do that. It's been such a long time since I've done wiring that needed to be inspected. Well, that it was going to get inspected, let me put it that way. That I forgot the sequence of events, and I thought I could just leave the Romex, you know, the rough Romex hanging in a box. Basically, the stuff I haven't, yeah, there we go. That stuff, I thought I could just leave that in a box until after the rough inspection. But I found out that that's not the case. But anyway, it's going along pretty well. I'm just finishing up. I've got this floor done. No, I think I've got one more box to do. Yeah, here we go. I've got to do this box right here. So to that end, I've made up a bunch. Here's my leftover wire in the back, and I have some extra boxes which we'll probably be using. We put the Ethernet cable in, but I'm using all this stuff for pigtails. Here's some 10 gauge. I don't need too many of those, so I've just left it on the remaining wire, and that's it. That's all I've got for 10-2. But then I've got all my 12 gauge pigtail wiring. Here I've got my 14 gauge pigtails. Here didn't have too much of that. I ran out of 14 gauge really fast. So most of the lighting circuits are 12 gauge. That doesn't really matter. That's what Andy had. And by the way, Andy is doing better. Cindy's doing well. They're doing a lot of work here. Let me wander around here real fast and try to get you a good update, like if we were walking around. You might notice that the place is getting a lot cleaner. If you recall, and maybe if I'm a good videographer, maybe I'll add some pictures in, before and after pictures, so you can see just how bad it was. Let me do something first though. Let me make sure that I've got this. There, that looks pretty good. Okay. Playing with the polarizing filter. So there was a huge pile of drywall here this spring, and we've moved it, everything, it's gone. There was a huge pile of siding here this spring, it's gone. In fact, they've come in, they've planted, they've moved things, and it looks like he's getting ready to pull that clothesline out. Anyway, over here, where there are piles of dirt, they're building a walkway, and there was a bunch of material over there too. In fact, there, where those posts are, was another gigantic pile of drywall. It's completely gone now. All the drywall that was out here has been moved. It's either inside, it's all inside now. That's great. So, and it's important to get this stuff done. I mean, you know, winter is coming. This area's been cleaned. It looks to me like that sawhorse had an accident. Oh my gosh, its legs are gone. Probably gonna have to put it down. Well, that's a shame. Anyway, so this back area is cleaned up real well. That metal door is actually a tabletop. I guess I could back that out. A little tabletop. And anyway, the rest of the extra wood and the siding is over here off to the side where it's out of our way. That's great. Mainly out of our way. We still have to do, we've got to get this OSB taken care of at some point. It's really, I mean, it's really getting weathered. It's been out in the weather for a while. It's still structurally okay, but it's not great. Oh, by the way, this is a Sunday. Last Monday, a little kitten wandered in here. A little what do they call her, a tortoiseshell looking little cat. And she was a little baby, probably 4 weeks old maybe. She came in here and her face was damaged really bad. Under her chin, the skin had been ripped completely off and was hanging. And you can see like bones in her jaw. And her eye it's damaged. She's probably going to be blind in one eye. But we got her, cleaned her up, and watched her. And we didn't really realize the extent of her injuries until about Wednesday, but she was still around here. We cleaned her up Wednesday and looked at it, and I realized we needed to take her to the vet. So that's what we did. We took her to the local vet. Good friend of mine. I've known him for a long time, Mr. Wayne Davis, and he did a great job. And I'm just really happy that we got her to the vet. She's over at Cindy and Andy's house now, and she's recuperating, and she looks a lot better. She's a great little kitty cat. So we were able to save that little kitten. Spent a lot of time working on that little cat this week. In fact, I just got done being over at their house, looking at that little cat, just taking care of some stuff. I just enabled the low light setting on this camera. I've never used it. I've had this camera for years, but I've typically have better light than I have here. Anyway, so we're now in a low light setting. Yeah, I'm looking much better. So this is a piece of a Lazy Susan, and Cindy has taken it apart, Andy has taken it apart, and they've cleaned it up, and they're refinishing it, and we're going to use it in the kitchen. And all these cabinets here that are covered up have been re-stained and polyurethaned, and they're going to go back in the kitchen, or they're going to go into the kitchen or somewhere in the house. And so they've been busy out here. Cindy's been busy out here, well, both of them, for the last almost month, getting this stuff cleaned up, repaired, and refinished. And I know it's awfully dark in here still, even with my, let's see if I can get the, there we go. I'm pushing this camera pretty hard. What else? Yeah, we got a bunch of cabinets over here that are finished. This little piece is finished. This is part of an island, and there's a table underneath here that's been, Cindy has about probably 15 coats. And I'll show this to you down the road. When I can actually show it to you when it's finished, it'll be beautiful. That's going to have a piano finish on it. It's going to be beautiful. And Cindy's doing it. I'm teaching her the art of making a piano finish, which is basically sanding, putting polyurethane on it, sanding, and you just repeat that for, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 times, whatever it takes. And then you bring it up to a polish, and it's beautiful. I mean, I've done that before, so she's doing a good job, and it's going to look nice. What else? I pulled a whole bunch of duct work that was down that Andy had stored, that was up on top, way up on top, right up there, and I pulled a bunch of duct work out of the basement. In fact, let's go over there while I've got this setting on low light. I hope I don't blow out my camera by putting it in bright light. I don't know what to expect with this low light setting. So it looks to me like it's just amplifying the, it's just opening up the aperture a little bit more because it's a bit brighter. But let's go down here. This camera, when I go down here, let's see if that low light setting helps a little bit. Looks like it's doing better. Now I did leave a light on in here. That waviness that you see is because that's pulse width modulation. That light right there has a pulse width modulation control circuit in it. That is about the same frequency as this camera, like about 30 frames per second, or a multiple thereof. Anyway, this is pretty much ready to go. I've got this all done. I numbered all my cables and wrote that down. I've got a kind of a history of all of this. Then when the time came, I changed my list, added numbers for the breakers. So I think we're good. I just heard somebody come in. Anyway, I hope that the inspector doesn't consider that bundling. That would make me sad. And this is all the material that I was able to get from under the house and out in the garage. And this is all going to be for the HVAC and the fans, any ducting that we have to do. And we got a big pile of steel parts here. And I still have to do all of the making all these boxes up. They're just roughly wired. So yeah, there we go. All right. Well, I guess that's an update. I'll see you later.